Lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we rise strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
What a hell of a game tonight. The Kings win it 132 to 127. The real key was the free throws down the stretch. The Kings were flawless from the line. They were great down the stretch from the free throw line. DeMar DeRozan made big baskets when he had to. I'm going to also, before I give all the props to the Kings, I'm taking my hats off to the Houston Rockets. They are one hell of a team. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. I could see the Rockets winning the West. I really could. If they're healthy, I could see this team winning the West. They are really freaking good. I give the Kings a lot of credit. They had a big lead in the second half, Ryno. Looked like they were going to run away and hide in the third, and the Rockets came back. They actually took the lead by a point in the fourth quarter, but DeRozan was tremendous. But the free throws, boy, oh boy, they were good.
13-13 in the final period, as you said, Grant. That's what won the game for the Kings. They were able to withstand the pressure for the most part. We can break down some of the other issues as the show goes along, but to your point with the Rockets, 40 points in the paint in the second half. Incredible. Also 19 second chance points. But Grant, I got to tip my hat to the zone defense. This is the second game. The 2-3
defense was good. Yeah.
Second game in the last three that has won the Kings the game in the second half.
Yeah, it was very effective when they switched to it, and it gave the Rockets some problems. But this was a hell of a game. This was a very entertaining game. And we thought yesterday with the Rockets playing last night, and then you find out no Fred VanVleet, you had to win this game. And the Kings almost did not win the game. They almost let it slide through their hands, but they were able to hold on. And again, free throws had a lot to do with it.
Yep, it's exactly what it was. And look, that is a game the Kings usually lose. That was a scrappy athletic team they have trouble with. And the fact that they've handled it, now that's 2 in a row against the Rockets. To your point also about the Rockets, can you imagine if they get some legit three-point shooting?
Let me tell you something. How about Thompson? How good is he? Oh, my goodness.
He is a problem. He is a legitimate problem. Yes.
And let's hope the Kings don't have a problem with Keon Ellis when he turned his ankle in the third. You really missed him in the fourth. But listen, I was impressed with what I saw with the way the Kings were able to hold on when it looked like it was falling through their fingers. But I'm not being a Debbie Downer here. I'm more impressed with what I saw from the Rockets tonight. I'm blown away after watching that game without 2 starters and playing last night. I could see the Rockets battling Oklahoma City in the West for it. I really could. I think the Rockets are that good. And you're right. If they make a move at the deadline to get a good 3-point shooter, oh my goodness. You know what it is about the Rockets that's very apparent to me, Ryan? I give the Kings full credit. They won the game. The Rockets are so damn athletic. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They're all over the place, Grant. They're jumping a second time before you get off the ground the first time.
Yeah, but how good was DeMar DeRozan in that fourth quarter in the final 5 minutes? He was great.
Very special. Settled the Kings down when they needed it. Needed a big bucket, some composure. He was right there for you, and that's why you bring it DeMar DeRozan in, Grant. 12 seasons with 20 points or more.
Yep.
Per game. And incredible.
It's another game where I got to tell you, I'm not that impressed with what I saw from De'Aaron Fox. Not the Fox that I'm accustomed to seeing. And I'm not saying he played poorly. And again, he was tremendous with his free throws down the stretch, which I really like. But I love what I see when Ellis is on the floor with Monk. And when you have Sabonis, how about Monk and Sabonis? And Sabonis fouled out with the 2 minutes left. But watching Monk and Sabonis, they're like clockwork, aren't they?
It's so fun, and you can tell it lifts the rest of the team up. It gets the guys more touches, and some of these passes, Grant, I don't know how they get through. It's brilliant. That you can't teach that chemistry, Napes. You can't.
No, you can't. Sabonis was tremendous again tonight. He fouled out with 14 rebounds and 20 points with under 2 minutes left, and this would have not boded well for the Kings if this game had gone to overtime. They would have had a lot of without Sabonis, that would have been a real problem. Without Keon Ellis, would have been a big problem. You got to really hope that Keon Ellis is okay.
Excellent point. So we're giving credit. Yes, we hope Keon's okay. Great point. But we're giving credit to the zone defense. The Rockets were starting to shoot their way out of the
Yeah.
zone defense. You go another 5 minutes there. I agree with you. The thing about Fox that I want to get back to, Grant, it's the basketball IQ at times. Sometimes when it is the most important time of the game, that last sequence triggered because the Kings were up 4 points, and Fox with 10 seconds left on the clock takes an ill-advised drive that turns into a fast break and a wide open three. And now we have the longest 2 minutes of basketball of the season.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me sometimes. It's almost like he's not aware of score and clock at times.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. Look, they got this one. That's what I'm happy about. I know the fan base is happy about it. Jack Attack, thanks for the super chat. Love the show. Huge fan. So inspiring. Thank you, Jack. We appreciate it, my friend.
Yes, we do. And we certainly invite your phone calls. We are so happy to have you here. And we are brought to you in part by Sunrise Landing, by New Works Plumbing. I'll get to Sunrise Landing in a moment. But they have tremendous service for you when it comes to your plumbing needs. They've got a fix for you. They're available 24/7. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com, or I like newworksplumbing.com, NEWWRXplumbing.com, or call the number on your screen. Again, they are available 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. You remember Sunrise Landing? Yeah, I just said it a moment ago. They are awesome. All right. It's a new residential community in Calusa from Blazona Development, and they have many models to choose from. And if you go to CalusaSunrise.com, you can check out everything. No Mellorews, no homeowners, good access to the major roads like I-5 and adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Just go to CalusaSunrise.com and you will get all the information you need on Sunrise Landing. The beam is lit, 132 to 127. And for Sacramento, next up, a bad Washington team and a struggling Warriors team before they hit the road for 6 games. But this is a big win tonight. I don't care how you won. You had to win this game. I mean, the table was set perfectly for you, and the Kings found a way to win the game. And, maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, they lose this game.
Absolutely. And Grant, are we starting to get some Keegan Murray sightings?
Yeah, he was good tonight. He was good. You know what? I like his confidence on offense right now. That's what I'm seeing. I see his offense. He's not hesitating. And I thought he was very, very effective.
Yeah, I thought he picked his spots really well. I thought he was aggressive when he needed to be, because you got to keep the defense honest at times, Grant. And that's exactly what he did. But it all starts. It goes back to that pick and roll offense that the Kings are running. And yeah, they figured it out a little bit in the second half. The Rockets did. But, DeMar DeRozan, difference maker.
If I'm going to nitpick on this game, it's going to be the bench, which was really bad. Now, Ellis not being able to play a lot in the second half because of the ankle factored into that. But your starters won this game. Plain and simple, your starters won this game tonight. 100%.
And Devin Carter only played 8 minutes now, whether that's due to the shoulder, whether that's due to decisions because of the pressure that the Rockets were playing. Kevin Huerter actually only 9 minutes as well. Trey Lyles got the most. And Grant, this is now the third or fourth game in a row that we've seen coach choose to go small rather than to go to Alex Len.
I think against this team being so athletic, it makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know if Alex Len could play with this style, the way the Rockets play. I got to tell you, I haven't watched the Rockets play a lot this year. They really, I walked away from the game tonight with a wow. When I'm thinking of the Rockets on normal rest with a healthy team, they're better than I thought they were. I know their record speaks for itself. They are really good. I mean, I guess I didn't expect them to advance this quickly. When I look at what they did last year, they are so much better this year. It's like, it's unbelievable to me. I got to tell you, and that's another reason why I'm so impressed that the Kings were able to, hold on and win this game. How about the fourth quarter scoring? Did you see the fourth quarter scoring tonight? It was 42-42.
Yeah.
Think about the pace of this game in the fourth quarter, Ryno. It was unbelievable.
Incredible. It's like the Rockets actually looked fresher in the second half as the game went along. They got stronger. To your point, though, I think they're definitely in the top 3 in the West. But, they've got those pieces. You talk about the puzzle all the time here, and Grant. or here in Sacramento, Grant, they've got the Dylan Brooks, who, unless he's on your team, you don't like him, but he
That's
fits
right.
perfect with the coach's personality and what they try to do. And it's just a very well constructed
Yep.
basketball team. Hell, Reed Shepherd isn't even touching the court names.
That's right. It's unbelievable. My thoughts on the Houston's defense, and we really appreciate the super chat. They're active. They're very good. I like the way they close out. They get a lot of. They're good. They're very good. I think Ime Udoka, is so responsible for that. Houston could win the title in a few years. Yeah, if they can move Oklahoma City to the Eastern Conference, maybe they could. Here's that, because I think Oklahoma City is going to be there. All right, here's one. Fox had 4 steals tonight. Fox can still work in this lineup. It's just that Monk is the point guard. Fox's role needs to diminish. I'm not saying that Fox can't work in this lineup, but his role is different. He's not the man anymore. I hate to say that. He's just not.
I mean, when you look at what Fox gives this team, and we're not going to use a 1-game sample size, but is he worth he's going to be north of $40 million, even if he does not make all NBA. I mean, is there another way you can fill that? And I guess this team functions fine without him, or at least we are starting to see that. I don't know.
It's going to be a very interesting decision with the trade deadline coming up in a couple of weeks. But again, this 3-game homestand, this was the game. You cannot have any letdown. I think it's good that the Kings are going to have a couple of days off between games, and maybe that's good for Keon Ellis. Yeah. Let's hope that Keon Ellis, he walked off the floor pretty good, which was encouraging to me.
Yep, absolutely. It looked like a clean roll for the most part.
It didn't look that bad, really.
Yeah, so you hope that he's able to get that recovered, but you also want to make sure that it's right too, because that can linger for a while.
Absolutely. But you having a couple of days off between both these games is going to be, big, really
Even this
big.
homestand, you play Sunday, as you said, and then you don't play again until Wednesday.
Exactly.
So worst case scenario, he misses the next game against Washington, which should be the win. He has almost 5 days off before he's got to chase around Curry.
If you need Keon Ellis to beat Washington, you got problems. Now, I know the Kings lost to Washington last year. I'm well aware of that, but I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Did you catch Stan Van Gundy's line about the Kings coaches? They were. Yeah. That was pretty good. You got to give him credit there. He is right. Yeah.
Again, 132 to 127. Don't forget, on this program tonight, I am looking for a rant with Grant. All right. So give me a rant with Grant. Give me your ideas. We'll have a rant coming up for you in just a couple of moments.
Are you guys shy tonight to bat leadoff? Call the show. We'd love to hear from you. Big win, national TV, back above 500. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, and that's key. Back above 500. You're absolutely correct. That is big. Yes.
Yeah, we asked the question: can this team stay at or above 500 the rest of the season? If they can, they're in the play-in at the minimum, right, Nate?
Yeah, not unless they win the next 2 games, because the road trip is daunting coming up, starting with the back-to-back in Denver, and then you go to the Knicks, who are a big physical team. Those are the type of teams that give Sacramento trouble.
Absolutely. New York's starting to figure it out. Did you see them play Philly last night?
Yes. I didn't see it, but I read about it.
Yeah, they looked good. They're hitting on all cylinders right now.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so 132 to 127. That fourth quarter was unbelievable still. 42 to 42 in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was just they went on runs back and forth. In fact, you could almost make that argument the entire second half. Houston comes out right off the bat. They have a 7-0 run. The Kings respond with their own run. Then the Kings go 11-0. Houston goes 12-0 in the fourth quarter. Just a great sign of athleticism. And to the point, I mean, the Kings actually rose to the level of Houston and meeting their athleticism. Yep. And if they can do that consistently, that's an encouraging sign. But coming from this game, let's take it a step further. Does it still tell you this team needs another piece?
Yes, they definitely need another piece. I don't think there's any question about that. And I still think their biggest issue is their bench. And I think somehow, some way, they got to solidify their bench for the post-All-Star break run.
Yeah, I think that the defense, if the Kings can beat most teams to 100 points, I think they're in pretty good shape. They did that tonight. The offensive rebounding. Now, Houston rebounds the ball really well. They out-rebounded the Kings 20 by 20 last time that they met. but they gave up 6 there in that third quarter, and that really set the stage. And then
Yep.
Şengün, Grant,
Oh boy,
he's going to be approaching Sabonis territory pretty soon. His stats aren't
he's
that
good.
far off. He's a good
He's
player.
really good. I mean, he's good. That's all you can say. And what did he have tonight? 21 points. He had 10 rebounds. He's like Domantas Sabonis. He has great low post moves, doesn't he? He's good. He's so effective with the ball down in the block, just like Sabonis is.
He's deceivingly small. And another guy that kind of turned this too, going back to the size, first team all Kings killer, Steven Adams names.
Yeah. Well, Steven Adams is not the same player that he was before his injury. He's still effective, but he's not the same guy. He had a very bad injury in Memphis, and it sidelined him for most of the year last year, and then he ended up in Houston. He's perfect to come off the bench for the Rockets. He's not the same guy. He's just not the same player.
Still the same size.
He's the same size, not
a little bit bigger, but yes, yeah. I'm with you 100%. Let's, straight from the TNT studios, it is a national game. I'm surprised these guys let Zach get away from his desk. What's up, Guru?
Hey, can you hear me all right?
What's up, Zach?
Give me, you guys got to take me off. Sorry, I can't hear right now. Sorry.
Well, we can hear you, so go ahead.
I just wanted to say it was a good win. Kings played very well. We took advantage of what we had to. The Rockets coming off that Denver win, a couple injuries, things like that. So that was a good win.
Yeah, great win.
And one big thing I want to say is I'm being nitpicky. We won the game and we played well in the clutch, but I still just don't love the DeMar DeRozan ISOs near the end of the game. He played well and he was hot, so I guess we had to give it to him, but there are times where we're just turning the ball over near the end. Fox didn't really play well in the clutch, but kind of DeRozan saved him today. Sabonis, he didn't play defensively. I thought he was really bad today, like just really bad defensively. No one was stopping anyone inside. They got to the lane pretty easily. Just some things to think about as we go.
Okay, I want to get to DeRozan first. I'm okay with the ISO ball when he's feeling it like he was tonight, because he's the type of a guy that when he's on, give him the rock and let him go. I'm with you. I don't normally like the ISO ball, but when he's in a groove like he was tonight, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't hear it. I just had to make one more quick point. And that's Kevin Huerter. I think his trade value is absolutely just gone. Just want to say that. It's just there's this note. He's a 3-point specialist. That's 32% from 3. He's getting less playing time, stuff like that. And we gave away 2 picks, 2 second rounds for to get rid of Davion Mitchell. I mean, how many picks do we have to get rid of Kevin Huerter's contract of $16 million? I just don't think that he's going to be. It's going to be tough to really get anything for him of value. So just something to think about as we head to the trade deadline.
All right, thank you, Zach. Since you can't hear us, we'll let you go, and we'll thank you very much. As far as Kevin Huerter, I believe that Kevin Huerter could fit in well on teams.
100%.
So, I would actually think there are general managers that are looking at acquiring him based on the style and how they play. That's it's not like Kevin Huerter forgot how to play the game. He was a damn good player when he was with the Atlanta Hawks, and he was pretty good in Sacramento when he first got here.
Every team has their own type of style to a degree, and Sacramento's style, whether it's good or bad, unless it's the 2002 Kings, most times people kind of put it in a box and say it's an outlier. You put Kevin Huerter on a traditional style team where you've got some point guards, you've got guys that are kicking out, Kevin's going to be very effective. He's going to get better looks. His looks here really aren't that great, and they're infrequent. And as a shooter, you like to know where your looks are going to be and where your spots are going to be. Usually.
Absolutely. When I look at the West and I look at Oklahoma City and how dominant they are, right?
Yeah.
And I look at Memphis and they're not going anywhere. And then I look at the Rockets. And when I think about the Rockets, I think of Jalen Green, right? I think of Şengün. I think of Jabari Smith, who broke his hand. I don't think of Amir Thompson. And after watching him tonight, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you now have him to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, they're loaded. I mean, so is Oklahoma City. And that's why when we talk about these moves for Sacramento, Ryan, it's so important. It's not about it's about keeping up with the Joneses now. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, let's just call it the way it is. Oklahoma City and Houston have passed you by. Yes, I'm aware that the Kings have beat Houston twice, but would you take the Sacramento roster right now, or would you take Houston's roster right now? That's how I answer that question, and it's not even close. I would take the Houston roster in a heartbeat right now. I would take their team. You got to be objective about this, okay? Then there's Memphis. They're young, they're built, they're not going anywhere, barring injuries. You can't make a trade that just keeps you where you are now. If you're going to make a trade, it's got to get you better, Ryan.
Amen.
Not for now, but in the future as well.
Yeah, you're spot on, Grant. So when do you, if you've got to try to pinpoint it, when did the Kings fall behind and everybody else fell forward?
I believe last year, because Oklahoma City went by Sacramento last year like a speeding bullet. And
Yeah.
the year before, they didn't even make the playoffs when the Kings were the 3 seed.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other aspect of that, there are teams that were ahead of Sacramento that have fallen off the pace, such as Phoenix, such as Golden State. Okay. But we haven't even talked about San Antonio, and they're close to following in the footsteps of some of the teams that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
They're set up very well for the future. That's puts more pressure on Monty McNair and this team, because you have a aging DeMar DeRozan, even though he's really good, but he's not part of your long-term future, right? Houston is built right now for the long term. Oklahoma City right now is built for the long term, right?
Grant, what did we say at the beginning of the season? We said this is a right now team in Sacramento. Acquiring
Yes.
DeMar DeRozan with the timeline of the rest of your roster, it was a right now move.
Yes.
So you're spot on. Let's go to Dan. Dan, what's going on tonight?
Dan?
Go
You
back
guys
to
got
him
me
really
in there?
quick. Dan.
You guys got
Yep.
yeah,
How are
got
you?
me. Hey guys. Good. How you doing, Grant?
How are you, Dan? Thanks for
Good.
coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate that. Hey, just want to ask you guys real quick. Doug Christie, best coach since Rick Adelman. What do
He's
you
doing
think?
a hell of a job. I'm not ready to say he's the best coach since Rick Adelman. I think the sample size is a little bit too small right now. So he's doing a hell of a job right now. Best coach since Rick Adelman after 2 weeks. I don't think you can make that statement.
I think I can, and I think I'm qualified. But you guys
Well, I'm
have a
not
great
saying you're
night.
not qualified. I'm not.
Yeah.
I didn't say you weren't qualified.
Well, it
I didn't say
sounded
that.
like
I
you
just
were kind
said
of
that.
you were
I
kind
don't
of
think you can
attacking
make a
me.
statement.
At one point, it sounded like you.
I don't think you compare a coach who's in the Hall of Fame, okay, to a coach that's only coached 2 weeks. I don't think that's fair.
Phil, what's up?
Hey, I'm doing good, guys. Hey, wanted to hop on earlier, but hell of a win, man. That was big time win right there.
Big win.
You know, one of the things I hate to harp on, our local announcers, but I think that there's a pretty good following about the Kings fans that aren't really big fans of Mark Jones. So it was good to hear the national TNT broadcast today. That was one of the things I was excited to hear. And it was funny because in the past, I feel like I'd kind of get annoyed by Van Gundy a little bit, but I found myself it was a joy to listen to him because of his knowledge, because of his research. He does a great job, obviously, at what he does, and he knows the game very well. And it was fun to listen to him. There was a point in the game where he talked about, the Kings are obviously on their 7-2 run right now, but he made a point to recognize Mike Brown, which I thought was really cool. And he said that Mike Brown laid the foundation for this defense. And what Doug Christie's doing right now is he's going off of that momentum that Mike Brown built. Obviously, there were some bumps along the road with Mike Brown, but I think he hit the nail on the head on that, in the fact that Doug Christie's he's keeping this team going. He's keeping going what Mike Brown had as the fundamentals, but he's tightening some of the stuff up for his own way.
All right, let me add something. The coaches fraternity is a very tight community. Okay, and Stan Van Gundy is a longtime former NBA coach. Mike Brown has been a longtime NBA coach, whether it's an assistant or a head coach. The fraternity is very close and very tight. They stick up for one another. So I think part of that is Stan Van Gundy sticking up for a coach that a lot of people feel got a raw deal here in Sacramento. Forget about what the record is right now. There are a lot of people that feel that it was an unjust firing. Right now, it looks pretty good. But the point is, whether you like Mike Brown as a coach or not, whether you thought he did a good job in Sacramento or not, the other coaches around the league, present and former, have a lot of respect for him. And so I think that's part of it that you heard on the telecast tonight. I think that's Van Gundy looking out for one of his own. That's my opinion.
No, I agree with that 100%. And I mean, on that same lines, I mean, I know I said it a couple nights ago, but I mean, Chrissy's pressing the right buttons. And I think that, you know, that is credit to Mike Brown, though. Like, Mike Brown set this foundation, and it's almost like, I don't even know a good analogy to put at it, but it's, I mean, Doug Christie he's pressing the right buttons. And I mean, this is a huge win. I mean, Houston's been rocking, and this feels good. This feels good right now.
Yeah, Phil, I agree. It feels really good, but here's the button that Doug Christie's pushing. It's the Keon Ellis button. And Mike Brown was very hesitant to push that button, and maybe Keon was the fall guy in terms of accountability in that locker room because you have such a thin bench. But I would say Doug is empowering Keon to go out there and kind of do some different things and giving him that freedom. And I think that makes a big difference. So whether Mike deserved to get fired or not, that was a just mistake during this year's Mike Brown's
There's no question about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think one of the other things you have to touch on, though, is, I mean, whatever the case may be, I mean, again, I love Mike Brown. He's a great coach. But
no, he's not a great coach. He's not a great coach. He's a good coach.
Okay. All right. I agree with you on that, Grant. And then, but look at where this game came down to. There was 9 seconds left in the game. Rockets had the ball. They were down by 3. We know what happened the game before Mike Brown got fired, and they looked sharper in this game. I mean, that easily.
Yeah, but Jalen Green got a great look. They elected not to foul. They could have fouled before the ball went to Green on the pass inbounds to Şengün. They could have fouled him. They didn't. And Green got a good look. They didn't attempt to foul Green. We may have been having a different conversation had that ball gone in, and it almost did. I was a little surprised, Ryan. And I'm sorry, what's your name again? Phil? I'm a little surprised, guys, that the Kings did not foul there. I really am.
I was too.
Look, sorry to cut you off really quick. I just got to respond to that, Phil. With the inconsistency of that whistle coming off of a couple games on this road trip where it looked like DeMar DeRozan was clearly going up and they said it was on the floor, I just think with continuation, that is the trickiest play to pull off in the NBA. I almost think the odds are better playing it straight up.
But you had an opportunity before the ball got to Jalen Green on the inbounds. The Şengün was not in any position to do anything with the ball.
You're right. Good point.
And the last thing I want there, if I'm Sacramento, the last thing I want in that situation is the ball in Jalen Green's hands with a chance to tie the game.
I'm not going to lie with you on that, Grant. That Jalen Green guy, holy cow. I mean, I have not seen him play that much, but jeez Louise, that guy can drain them, man.
He's on a bender.
Best of them.
Yep. Amen.
Thank
Phil,
you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you guys.
By the way, we appreciate those of you that are contributing via the super chat. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. We're getting so many messages. It's hard to keep up with everything, but we appreciate it. And thank you very much.
Absolutely. Glad we're getting the phone calls. Keep them coming. GP, what's up tonight, man?
Hey, how you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead. Thank you for calling.
Hey, no problem, Grant. Great W. I just want to say the guys are fighting hard, playing hard. That's what we like to see as fans,
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's the one thing about this team. Even when the things don't go well, like, you look like the game was over, right? And then all of a sudden the Rockets go on a 10-0 run in the fourth quarter, and you're like, oh, my God, here we go again. But the Kings just stick with what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. They got to keep fighting defensively, especially with these teams that are stacked, and especially everybody in the West. I just wanted to say about
GP.
ago. Do you think? Hello.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
Okay. Do you think Fox is playing a bit more aggressive? You know, not taking as many threes as before, which is good for the Kings. How do you guys see him playing? Like, what the type of style he could play for us to be successful even more? You know,
Okay.
with Fox, I wanted to know your guys' opinion on that, and I wanted to see what you guys think about what we have to do with the Wizards and the game with the Warriors going forward.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for the call. We appreciate it. We're going to let you go because you're breaking up a little bit. I want to
Thank
talk
you,
about De'Aaron Fox for a minute. I don't think this is something that he's relishing. I think he likes winning, but I don't know if he doesn't like being the man anymore. And right now, he's not the man anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just calling it the way it is. I mean, Monk and Sabonis are getting almost all of the attention right now on the Kings locally and around the country. Am I misstating that, Ryno?
No, the national broadcast, Stan Van Gundy, the same coach that we're giving credit to, was gushing over Malik Monk and Sabonis's connection. And I watch a lot of national games. You don't hear gushing like that too often between two players, especially with something like the pick and roll that is so fundamental in basketball. I mean, in some ways, bringing DeMar DeRozan in, Grant, kind of has put Fox on a spot where one of them's going to be the odd man out because they're both that ISO player and this ball moves. And that's when everybody thrives.
Yes. And Fox, who not last year, the year before was the Mr. Fourth Quarter man, right?
Yep.
And then it dropped off. And then this year we haven't seen that as much. I mean, Fox has had his moments. I mean, he was the Western Conference Player of the Week earlier in the year. I mean, we're not discrediting Fox. We're not saying he's not a good player.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Think about the style in which that happened. I'm not
It was
taking
a track
anything
meet.
away. It was a very impressive feat to go 60 and 49. But
Yes.
you remember the end of the game? It was 1-on-5.
Yes.
Everybody else was standing around. It wasn't within the team scheme per se. It was just, De'Aaron, do your thing. You're cooking. So,
And what happened in the locker room? It became split. I mean, that's pretty obvious. That's why Mike Brown's not coaching anymore.
Absolutely. That's a huge part of it. You give a lot of power to the guys and you try to pull it back and do something different. It doesn't go over so well. I mean, this started, if we want to talk about this fracture, I think this kind of started to a degree last year, Napes, when they started taking the ball out of Foxy's hands. Last year was really the year that he did not have the ball in his hands predominantly as the point guard. You saw it more in Monk's hands. You saw it more in Domas's hands. And not that they were grooming him to grow his game, but maybe the Kings were seeing what he is and what Jerry says, a scorer. He's a 2. He's not a creator.
My problem with a 2, the way I want to play in the NBA, I'm talking about Grant Napier now.
Yeah.
I need my 2 to be able to shoot the 3 very well. I'm sorry. The name of the position is shooting guard. The game today is a 3-point shooting game. I'm sorry. It is. Fox doesn't shoot the ball well enough from 3 for me to pay him the kind of money that we're talking about if I want him to be my 2 guard. He just doesn't. I'm sorry.
I think it's a fair point. Here's my kind of issue with Fox when I look at this team. I'll name them one by one. Whether the shots are going in or not, you got to take that away from this argument. Keegan Murray, steady as hell. You know what you're getting on both ends for the most part. Domantas Sabonis, you know throughout the game, first to fourth quarter, you're going to get that same effort. Malik Monk, if the shot's not falling, you're still getting full Malik Monk. Too often for a guy that's considered a star, quote unquote, who's only been an all-star once, which I respect, he disappears. His points come in clusters. The really positive thing about this team is when they are meshing, it's all flowing and it doesn't stop. You saw it really in the first half. And Grant, you could almost argue it's kind of passing De'Aaron up at times.
I'm going to say it this way. Up until a few weeks ago, I would always come on and say, the Kings better hope they don't lose De'Aaron Fox. They better hope they don't lose Fox. They better hope that Fox doesn't get hurt. They better hope that Fox doesn't get hurt, right?
Yep.
Now here we are in the middle of January, And I'm not saying that anymore, and I'm not thinking that anymore. You better not lose Malik Monk. If you lose Malik Monk, you are in deep trouble. Okay. So that's the biggest difference. And I'm going to also tell you, and I may be wrong because I think perception is not always reality. So I want to point that out. Perception is not always reality. De'Aaron Fox doesn't look like he's having fun playing basketball right now.
I agree.
He just doesn't have that passion that I've seen in him in the past. And again, that's perception. It may not be reality. I'm only going by what my eyes tell me.
Well,
That's a concern for me if I'm looking at the future of this team.
you can also go off of his comments. He said you got to have joy when you're playing basketball. I mean, this is the same guy. I mean, Grant, when we were kind of in the midst of the start of that losing streak, and De'Aaron was asked, he said with like more than, I think, 46 or 47 games left in the schedule, that they were going to need help. Destiny was out of their hands. And look at what this team has turned around. And that all happened within a week. I don't know what makes Fox happy. I mean, Grant, you sat there, you called him. What made Fox happy when you saw him playing with joy?
He just loved to play basketball. He would play hurt. He never wanted to be out of the lineup. I always just felt the guy was a gamer. He wanted the ball, but he wants to be the guy. I mean, I will say that about Fox. Fox's personality is to be the man. Okay? And again, I'm talking about perception. I'm not talking about reality.
Sure.
I think he wants to be the guy. And with Monk and Sabonis right now, and we haven't even mentioned Sabonis. And by the way, I'm looking at some of the messages. Obviously, you can't lose Sabonis.
No.
That goes without saying. But I'm talking about Monk and not Sabonis because of the position that he plays. He's a guard. Sabonis is not. So I'm leaving him out of this conversation. It goes without saying, if you lose Sabonis, you're in deep, deep trouble. We get that. But we're talking about the guards on this team. And with the development of Keon Ellis, and by the way, Devin Carter, I think will be good. I don't think he's good yet. I think he does things well, but I don't think he's a guy that for this season you can talk about the way we talk about Keon Ellis.
No.
So in terms of guards on this team, you can't have this many guards. Like you just can't. You can't play them all.
And you just talked at the beginning of the show, too, about this isn't a team where you make a Lyles Herter move that it's going to make a big difference with what we're seeing in the West. I mean, that's where the Kings are in a precarious spot, Grant, because logically, if you take Fox's tenure out of it, if you take the relationship with the fans and the love that he has in this city, he would be the guy with a year and a half left on his contract. He's been here 7 years. He has the most value. That would be the piece that you are shopping. And now, if you try to make any other move, you still have that up in the air with De'Aaron with the contract length, but you're dealing with pieces that you really like that play together well right now.
I want to get to this comment. Grant hasn't even mentioned Houston tonight in praise. I'm going to tell you this. You obviously missed the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
I actually, and again, you want to turn the channel off, go ahead. I was more impressed with Houston in the loss than I was with Sacramento in the win. That's the impression that Houston left me with tonight. I watched the game tonight and turned it off going, oh boy, Houston is now a real deal in the West, and they're set up for a long time, and they are going to be dangerous. And the reason why I have that saying this is, the goal is not just to make the play-in. The goal is to get into the playoffs and win a couple of series. I don't know how Sacramento would beat with this roster. I don't know how they're going to beat Houston in a series. I don't know how they would beat Oklahoma City in a series. And you're going to have to beat one of those two teams to get to where you want to be. I don't see it happening. I'm sorry.
And check this out, Napes. You've got Jalen Green through 27-28. You got Reed Shepherd through 28-29. Jabari Smith through 26-27, Aman Thompson through 27-28, Şengün through 28-29.
That's my point.
There, Tari Eason through 26-27. Yeah, they are very similar to Oklahoma City. They don't have as many picks, but yes, they're here to stay.
They don't need picks. They don't need picks right now.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
They just need to go out and get a 3-point shooter. That's
Napes.
all they need.
Napes. Fred VanVleet comes off the books next year. He's got a player option, which he will ultimately pick up at 44 million. I don't see him not doing that.
Of
So
course.
if you somehow get something for him or do something with him, imagine what that team can do for 44 million. You talk about a landing spot maybe for a Bradley Beal. Maybe that could be the one spot that could possibly work with that team. So that's why when we go back to the Fox thing, Grant, unless we want to flounder around the play-in, you're looking at a Fox move, or you're looking at the move of a Keegan Murray, a Malik Monk, a Keon Ellis to remain in the same conversation as some of these teams in the West, buddy.
The West is a dogfight, man. And we're not even talking about the other teams. I'll tell you who's playing very well right now are the Clippers. We're not talking about them.
Right.
You know, we don't talk about Denver as a championship threat anymore, but they're really good. Still, they're not chopped liver. And here's the other deal. When Dallas gets Luka back with their players, they're really good. I mean, again, you're talking about the West, which is brutal. That's another reason why I think if the Kings stand pat at this deadline like they have in the past, they're not gonna do anything.
Yeah, I'm with you. And really quick, so we're going back to the 109 points by Fox. We got to remember who was out those games. Malik Monk was out those games. You had the floor was spaced. They played De'Aaron Fox basketball as opposed to the basketball that they're playing tonight. So the question for the fan base is, which style do you prefer? Do you want a 60-point night every night to win?
No.
Do you want balance like Houston, Grant? 7 scorers who average double digits.
Well,
Incredible.
I mean, you know what my answer is.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know exactly how I feel about that. It's a team game. And generally, it also keeps everybody very happy, right?
Yeah. I think and with Malik Monk just now signing this past summer, his contract, he's a freaking steal for the production that you're getting.
Steal.
Steal.
An absolute steal. A steal. Lots of negative takes after such a great performance. No, sorry, I picked the wrong one because it's good. No, we're not being negative. You know what we're being? We're being honest and we're being realistic. We're not homers. We're not up here with our pom-poms. We're just talking about what is the reality in the Western Conference. Okay? The reality is that there's a big drop-off right now between Oklahoma City and the rest of the West. And Houston is very close to that tier. And that's the reality. And Ryan just pointed it out. They're set up for the long haul, and they're only going to get better. And that should be scary if you're Monty McNair and the Kings. That's not being negative. That's just being honest.
Well, I guess you could also make this argument too, Grant, outside of the 2 top teams we're talking about, and let's throw Memphis in there as a third. This is kind of an opportunity to take that jump in the West because after 3, it's really fluid. And you look at the teams that are concentrated there, you have teams that are closer to being on their way out
wide
than on
open.
their way in. Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to hear about the Kings win and celebrate, not talk about the Houston Rockets. Well, you obviously aren't listening to the whole show. We have praised Sacramento a lot since we've been on in the last 45 minutes. A lot. Praising them a lot. So you're only hearing what you want to hear, or you just joined the stream. I'm not sure which one it is.
Maybe the show's not available in a different language, whatever they speak. I don't know. Happens all
the West is an absolute dogfight. And like last year, what's going to determine the 8 teams that are in the playoffs, other than Oklahoma City, Houston, and Memphis, is health. Look at what's happened to Dallas without Luka and Kyrie, who missed 5 games. They came right back down into the pack. Health. You got to have good luck, Ryno. You got to have good luck. And if you don't, if you lose a Sabonis for 3 or 4 games, which I think is unlikely based on his history, if you were to lose Monk like you lost earlier in the year and you lost last year, you're in trouble. I mean, let's just call it the way it is. You're in trouble.
I think you're close to saying a Keon Ellis, too. He has the 2nd highest net rating on this team individually. Grant, you got to have that guy on the court, too. He was shooting the ball well earlier.
I think Keon Ellis is one of the great stories in the NBA that nobody talks about because nobody knows about him outside of Sacramento.
Oh, it's starting.
Ryan, when you look at where he came from and the fact that he was buried for the first part of this season and now has a new
Yeah.
life under Doug Christie and how well he's playing, that's a hell of a story.
No, you're right. Look, the national media is starting to pick up on it, Napes. As soon as the Kings started going the win streak, check this out.
Now under Doug Christie, he's playing more minutes. He's more engaged. He made winning play after winning play in their double overtime game against the Miami Heat. One of their lineups right now, they're basically their starting lineup with Keon Ellis in there, is a plus 22.2 net rating in that starting lineup. It's only played 100 minutes.
He's starting to make his way to the national scene. That's why I asked a couple days ago about what you think teams or general managers would see his value at.
I think it's a lot. And when I mean a lot, when you try to trade for a player, and I've talked to Jonah, I had a long talk with Danny Ainge about this. Danny told me once, he said, when I acquire players, unless it's like a Kevin Garnett, okay, I'm trying to forecast. Like, I'm not trading for that player right now. I'm looking at where that player is going to be a year from now or 2 years from now and how good I think that player can be on my team with the pieces that I have. I'm trying to guess my best estimate about where that player is now, if it's here, and can that player get to here? And Danny, we talked about this for about a half hour once before a game, and it was fascinating to listen to how he evaluates talent.
He knows it, and you don't want to get in a deal with him. And some of these trades that I'm seeing in the chat, trade Keegan and 2 number 1s for Lowry Marketing. We got to stop dreaming. Can we stop? Like, that's not even close.
Come on.
To what that would take. James, Houston's good, but they did get beat tonight. Kings have stuff it takes. I don't think they need to trade Fox. And look, that's not our decision. I respect everybody's decision here as long as it's based in logic.
We're not saying they do have to trade Fox.
No.
We're not saying that. We're just saying you got to be open to exploring it.
I look, when you look down, and you and I disagree on this, I don't think Sabonis's contract, I don't think his value is as much as you think it would be. I don't think you would have as many NBA teams jumping to take him on at his number because he's kind of that unicorn player. So I look at his contract and I say, yeah, you're probably not trading him without taking a haircut. And so it comes down to just a few guys. And
yeah, I do disagree with you on that. I think Domantas Sabonis would be coveted by many general managers in the NBA at the number. That's my opinion.
Okay, but what if you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox? You see, he doesn't work directly with a scorer per se.
That's why it has to be the right fit. It has to be the right guy, the right fit. We're seeing what happens with Monk.
Yeah, you have to either build your situation around him or have that pre-built in this CBA to take him on at $50 million. He's not a support guy at 50.
Okay, could you imagine him on Dallas with the pick and roll with Luka Doncic?
Oh gosh.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, could you imagine Domantas Sabonis playing with Luka?
Oh, I can totally imagine it, but you can't with the new CBA.
I know, but you ask me teams that, well, there's a lot of ways to get the new CBA is very complicated to me, just like the old CBA. I think it's the most. I'd rather take a calculus class in college. Okay, no, I'm serious. I mean, it's the most confusing thing in the world. There are players in the NBA, Monk being one of them, that we're watching that makes Sabonis from a very good player to, I don't want to say great, but I mean, he's pretty close to being a great player. I just think there are a lot of teams in the league that would love to have Sabonis. Yeah. I'm not so sure Indiana wouldn't love to have him back.
That's a good point. Would the Kings love to have Hallie back?
Well, we know that Hallie with Fox isn't going to work.
Yeah, that's a good point. Would you say DeRozan and Fox is working right now?
Say that again?
Would you say DeRozan and Fox is working right now?
I would say right now, DeRozan's working very well. I think Fox's game's dropped off personally.
Okay. Fair enough.
What about you?
I don't think it's worked. No, but I don't necessarily blame it on Fox. I think it's just really pointed out the gaping hole at point guard that this team, you called this 2 seasons ago. You said this team needs a backup point guard because we've seen if you put Sabonis in a different role outside of that point guard facilitator, he's so much more valuable
Yes,
than
very
an
good point.
assist.
Hey, don't forget about Bennett's, whether it's the West Side Grill, whether it is the location in Sacramento or Roseville, and their weekend brunch. Get down there this Saturday and Sunday and enjoy a great weekend brunch. You go to bennettsrestaurants.com, then make a reservation. That's bennettsrestaurants.com. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. They're awesome. And again, we invite you to enjoy that brunch at Bennett's. bennettsrestaurants.com, then make a reservation, check out the menu and more. They are awesome.
I'm keeping my eye on Chicago, by the way. I want to see what they're going to do. Levine's playing better. The contract's not looking as bad, but Kobe White, what are they
like
going to
Kobe
do?
White.
I love Kobe White.
Levine wouldn't fit in with what the Kings are doing right now.
White.
You only have one basketball.
Kobe White would.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yes, he would. I like him.
His contract's fair too. It's coming up for a payday, but yeah, absolutely. So there's a few teams out there. Pelicans, they're somebody that's kind of in the middle right now. What do you do?
What about
there?
the Warriors?
Absolutely. Did you hear Steph's response?
I sure
night?
did. Yeah.
That was pretty bold. We had the conversation earlier today. I just think if you have Steph on that team, you got a chance if you can get a ticket to the dance.
I totally agree.
To the dance.
I totally agree. You may not have a chance to win the championship anymore, but you got a chance to win a series or two. There's no doubt about it.
It's kind of like the Mahomes thing. They're similar in that sense. It's just so hard to go against them.
Okay, here we go. Calculus lesson for me on our super chat. You lost me already on the very first 3 words. Okay. I barely could get by algebra in college. I had to take a mandatory algebra class, and I changed my letter grade. I changed it. I said, I need to take this pass fail because I'm going to get that's the only way I'm going to get out of here. I got to get a pass fail. And I begged the teacher to give me a pass. I'm like, you know what? I said, I don't need to know math because I'm going to work in a profession where they put the numbers up in front of me on a scoreboard.
Right.
I know I have to learn how to read. Well, I don't need calculus. There's going to be 2 teams. There's going to be a number here and a number there. All I got to do is be able to read if it's like 80, 78, and then there's a clock in the middle, and I got to be able to read the numbers, how much time is left in the clock. I don't need calculus. Like, calculus is not going to help me. I'm not going to the freak. Let me do a rant on this, would you please?
Yeah.
This rant is brought to you by, EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. That's right. And Ryan, can you do me a favor? Just get that super chat off the line because I got to put the website. So EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. You go to edhmotors.com and you can check out everything that David and Adam can do for you. This is a long overdue new concept. 2 guys trying to do something different and better. You'll take delivery at the El Dorado Hills Town Center at their beautiful auto lounge. When you go online to edhmotors.com, if you don't find what you're looking for, guess what? They'll get it for you with their decades of automotive experience. Go to edhmotors.com and check out everything at EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. So back to these mandatory waste of time classes in college, like algebra. I'm thinking to myself, unless you're a freaking like engineer or you're an astronaut, maybe an airline pilot, right? And again, I'm only like doing this off the top of my head. What is the purpose of taking like calculus and like, my brother took all of these classes in high school and college. He ended up being a math teacher in high school. So I get the fact that he had to know it if he's going to teach it. But I'm thinking to myself, who in their freaking right mind is going to sign up in college for calculus or whatever's above that? I don't even know what the hell's above that. I barely got out of algebra my freshman year at Bowling Green. And again, I'm sitting there and I'm telling my buddies, I even talked to my teacher. It was very cool. I said, hey, I'm going to be a sportscaster. He goes, how do you know that? How do you know that? I go, because that's what I'm going to do. I guarantee you I'm going to do that. And I go, they have a scoreboard. And he stopped me. He goes, listen, you understand that like you have to take this class, right? I said, yes. He goes, you got to put some effort in. He goes, you're not putting enough effort in. I go, you're right. I have a bad attitude because it's a waste of freaking time. Algebra. How many people in life use algebra? Like, do you call your buddy and give him an algebra question? Do you go to the supermarket and as you're on the checkout line, have to figure out an algebra equation? Like, who uses algebra in life? Who uses calculus in life? Like, I don't understand that. It makes no freaking sense to me. And I'm going to college, right? And I got to sit in the damn classroom with 60 other people for an hour and a half, wasting my time on something that I will never, ever, ever, ever use on my life. Again, scoreboard, numbers right in front of me. I have to know how to read. Read. I don't need like equations. And by the way, who needs algebra and calculus right now with everything on your computer and your calculator? Like we didn't have computers when I was in college. They weren't invented yet. So like, you know what I mean? Like I had to actually do my own work with my little pencil, my eraser, you know, like I had an eraser because I was wrong almost every time I tried to do a damn homework assignment. I'd hand in my assignments. They were full of eraser marks because I was wrong all the time. Then I had to help my buddy. Hey, can you help me with this? It's called cheating a little bit. Yeah. You know, that's how I got past it. All right. I'm just calling it the way it is. So I'm sorry about my rant today going off on a tangent, but these electives and then your mandatory classes, like taking algebra, what a freaking waste of time. Give me a class that can help me in life. Give me a class on how to save my money. Give me a class on when I get a paycheck that I have to save this amount of money. Give me that class. Give me a class that helps me learn how to go places. Give me a class that makes freaking sense. Don't give me sociology. Don't give me these freaking math classes. I don't need them. I don't need them. Please, please stop it already with this nonsense. Let me get back to my fraternity house and give me a cold beer from the keg. That's what I need. I don't need algebra. And that's my rant for tonight.
That's terrible.
Speaking like a true frat boy, I could see college Napier sitting there with his metal calculator watch. Those were probably out back then, right? You're like, I could do it right here.
Do you use your algebra and calculus knowledge in life?
No, so my
Thank you.
son is doing
Yeah.
algebra right now, and I had to
Good.
YouTube it because I had to remember it. You know what I do use? I'll give you this statistics. Best class I ever took. But you know what made and broke those classes? Were the professors, Grant.
Yes.
If you had a dry professor,
Yes.
that's what made
Hey.
it all the worst.
I remember I had a professor named Mr. Janikowski.
Yeah.
He taught my journalism, law, and ethics class. He was the best prof I had in 4 years, and it was the best class I took in 4 years. And I learned more in that class in 4 years than any other class I took. And it helped me greatly in my career because it taught you about libel, defamation. It taught you about fact checking. It taught you about credibility. And the way he delivered the messages, everyone was focused on him. He was great and everyone loved him. And it was the best class I took in 4 years. And I put a lot of that on the professor. He was a great prof. So you're right.
I will never forget the great Fred Dawkins. Took him for torts. I learned everything I needed to learn. And he put it in simplistic terms. He was the best tort law professor ever, ever, ever. Fred Dawkins. Love you to this day. May God rest your soul. Rest in peace, brother.
All right. The baseball coach at Bowling Green of the pitching staff had Oral Hershiser and Roger McDowell on it.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the manager was Don Purvis. And I minored in coaching because I had to get a more credits. And you had that.
You
my
minored in coaching?
Minored in coaching. So I took a lot of classes in coaching and different sports. Very easy. Don Purvis, the baseball coach or manager at Bowling Green that had Oral Hershiser and Roger McDowell,
Yeah.
gets up in front of the class and said, what is the best pitch in baseball? Fastball. No. Slider. Knuckleball. Like, no one could get the answer.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think the best pitch in baseball is?
The one that nobody can hit?
Close. He said, you're all wrong. The best pitch in baseball is a strike.
Ah, all right.
And he said, in all of my years of teaching this class, not one person has ever come up with the right answer. How about that?
That is pretty deep. We had not to go off on too much of a tangent, but I took a philosophy class, one of those mandatory
Yep.
classes
I took
that
those two.
that you had to take, and we learned about all the different philosophers and all that. And our final, it was one test, it was the final only, and it was a written test, and it had one question. You know what that question was?
What?
Why?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So people were jamming away. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. I
Wow.
got to about page 3, and then it finally hit me. Why not? And that was the answer. Why not? I asked the professor after the fact, and he said, yes, indeed. I get one person, usually a semester, that will just write, why not, hand in their test, and be done.
Wow. I love that.
Pretty cool.
All right. Kings tonight win. Washington next. Golden State. Then you're on the road for 6. I think the biggest concern tonight is Keon Ellis. What's the evaluation going to be like tomorrow for him? I was encouraged with how he walked off the floor.
I agree with you, and I will second your Keon Ellis with a little bit of Devin Carter. Only playing, I think it was 8 or 9 minutes tonight, coming
And he
in
took
with
a
a
bad
dinged,
fall too in the game.
and he was coming in with a dinged up shoulder, because if you have no Keon Ellis,
Yeah.
you're going to rely a little bit more on Devin because if we want to be real about Foxy Steals Napes, that's what frees Fox up to do what he does best.
Yeah.
Is having that ball pressure from a guy like that.
Well, again, it's going to be a lot of fun when the Kings take on the Washington Wizards, because you're able to go to 2 games over 500. Tomorrow, you got a 1 o'clock Kings Court.
Absolutely. Wrapping up the week. We'll be here.
All right. I'll tell you what I'll do. I want to get you ready for the football weekend. So I'll do a show at 8 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. All right. I'm going to do an 8 o'clock. We'll do a nighttime show. People get off work. They can, join me. 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We'll do obviously Kings, but we'll do college and NFL football as well.
Nights with Napes. I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryno. Good show today. And Kings fans, thank you very much. Phenomenal to be now over 500 with 2 teams coming in that you absolutely should beat. Now, we've been down this road before, have we not, Ryno?
Too many times. Far too many times.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. I'll leave you with this. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. Oh, boy. Have a good night. Bye-bye.